My name is Carl Germano, board certified clinical nutritionist by trade. I've been in the dietary supplement industry for now 40 years. Um, Headed up product development for many companies you find in the health food store shelves. Very much involved in education. Wrote my 9th book about a year and a half ago. And for the past 8+ years, I've been working with a company that has been developing and bringing to the marketplace a novel, revolutionary, and disruptive technology to help deliver nutrients into the body like no other technology that exists today. Now, why is this important? Certainly, bioavailability has been getting a lot of attention over the past 6 months. There have been over a dozen articles written in trade journals here, Nutrition Insight, Natural Products Insider, spotlighting bioavailability as a concern that many consumers have. But the more concern is about whether or not they're absorbing everything they're taking in. They're getting more savvy, they're getting more critical, and quite frankly, they were even professed the fact that they would spend more money knowing that their supplements are better absorbed based upon what's going on, and their concern about what they're taking in is winding up in the toilet. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I wrote an article on redefining nutrient bioavailability, because for the past 40 to 50 years of this trade, we've been misled to think that bioavailability and increasing bioavailability is all about increasing absorption and getting nutrients into the bloodstream. That couldn't be farther from this truth, that we need to embrace what we call first pass metabolism. And that is that people need to understand everything they dump into the gut that gets into the bloodstream, the first organ it goes to is the liver. And it's the liver, this very efficient detoxification organ, that dismantles, breaks down, metabolizes through its cytochrome P450 system we call first pass metabolism, that renders far less material than what you just absorbed. Case in point, resveratrol. We can increase resveratrol absorption into the bloodstream 90–95% through standard liposomes and solubilization and particle size reduction, a whole host of things that have been in the trade that are really outdated. So while we are increasing getting resveratrol into the bloodstream, when you look at the published data on what's available after first pass metabolism, less than 1%. What does this mean? That 500 milligram capsule of resveratrol that consumers are taking, at best, less than 5 milligrams is available to cells. This is not marketing information. This is not coming from Verdant Nature. This is out of the literature. And this is true of resveratrol, berberine, thymoquinone, N-acetylcysteine, ellagic acid. I mean, the list goes on, and why we have now close to 25 ingredients wrapped up in our new technology. So what is this technology all about? Well, it's about our mission, and that is, we understand that this $160 billion supplement industry was based upon a promise of delivering compounds with less than 1% bioavailability, which is horrendous. So we developed this very disruptive technology to circumvent the issues that are at hand with the current technology that we have been led to believe is helpful, and that is liposomes and nanosizing and things of that nature. And so when we look at what Biosets technology is, it is a multi-step process to take an active ingredient, encapsulate it. In this case, we use beta-glucans, which is healthy for your immune system, and put it through microfluidizer, emulsification, particle size reduction, liposome development. Many different processes are available, but the most important in terms of our technology providing better stability, solubility, permeation, absorption, and most importantly, bypassing liver degradation. That's right. So our technology is all about not getting into the liver, not going through first pass metabolism, and delivering it elsewhere. This also eliminates the need to take high doses. This is the reason why 1.5 to 2 grams of resveratrol and curcumin and all these other very poor available nutrients, I've gotten to this level of taking high doses, which is not necessarily a good thing either, because you're now burdening the liver to produce a lot of metabolites, many of which are not very helpful. Here it is in a nutshell. The diagram to the right-hand side, the left side of the diagram shows our Biosets active nutraceutical versus a standard nutrient. Standard nutrient gets absorbed, goes into the portal duct, bloodstream, first pass metabolism, renders little, if any, of most nutrients. Our technology that enrobes this active gets picked up by chylomicrons and are delivered in the lymphatic system. Now, the lymphatic system parallels the circulatory system, and eventually everything in the lymphatic system trickles back into the bloodstream. By the time that happens, we have already bypassed first pass metabolism. What is the result of this? Superior and significantly more actives available in the blood and available to cells than any technology that exists today. Now, this is not a new technology. This is a technology that's being used by pharmaceutical trade for the past decade and a half to accurately deliver drugs and to not to get degraded, because obviously there's a greater concern for a prescription drug that's being dismantled for patients. And so they are moving away from the standard liposomes and solubilization to SNED's technology, which stands for self-emulsifying delivery system. And so our biosneds, what makes it different than pharmaceutical, the pharmaceutical trade uses a lot of nasty ingredients, tween, span, polysorbates, and other nasty ingredients that would never be accepted in our trade. We converted that technology to completely clean label, non-GMO, generally recognized as safe, health food trade friendly ingredients. That's taken us a good 5 years to perfect until we got to where we are today. Again, why do we want to circumvent liver degradation? I'm showing you, I'm picking on resveratrol, I could pick on many others, but I'm showing you 2 studies of many studies that exist here in the Annals of New York Academy of Sciences and also in Molecular Nutrition Food Research, that extensive metabolism in the liver results in oral bioavailability of resveratrol to be less than 1%. The other study almost down to 0. And we see this for a whole host of many other compounds. So when you overdose, because we now have to give 2 grams of resveratrol to get benefit, you produce a lot of metabolites. And people will say, well, the metabolites are healthy. Well, that's not always the case. That most metabolites are not beneficial. And here, in the case of resveratrol, many of the metabolites produce free radicals and can inhibit enzymes in the liver for liver function. And these are all the references for that. Not to belabor the point, we are looking at a new technology to, and our mantra being less is more. You can use less of our material to get more actives in the body without this issue of overdosing and producing metabolites that are not that important. This brings me to ReShape. Your product contains 4 important ingredients, obviously chromium, and in terms of chromium picolinate, and 3 of our biosneds ingredient, tributyrin, thymoquinone, and berberine. So biobutyrin, thymopro, and berberisol are our trademarks for our biosneds forms of these nutrients. And these nutrients are critically important, especially in this particular case, for weight management. When we look at berberine, berberine is probably one of the most important ingredients for cardiovascular function. but what has been evolving over the past decade is its major role in blood sugar management, which translates and is connected to weight management as well, as we will see. All of our ingredients go through permeation studies, including human PK studies. And when you look at berberine versus our berberisol, what you're looking at here are patients who were taking berberine, and we measure 5 different time periods: a half hour, 1 hour, 2, 4, 8, and 12 hours, their bloodstream. How much active is there? And as you can see, within an hour and a half of berberine, the orange line, very little, if any, as it's getting degraded and dumped into the bloodstream with very little. When you look at the blue line, which is our berberisol, it is statistically significant, dramatically significant in difference in terms of the concentration of actives compared to standard berberine. And that's what we do. We do permeation studies, and then we do human PK studies. When it comes to thymoquinone being a very potent anti-inflammatory, which means that it has many applications in a variety of disease conditions. But what's been bubbling over the past couple of years, along with berberine, is its role in regulating blood sugar and weight management, as you'll see in a second. Same thing with the PK study with our Thymoquinone versus Thymopro. We showed similar to berberine, almost 15 times higher concentration over the time period when we took subjects, put them on Thymoquinone, pushed them out, and then put them on the Thymopro. As you can see, the area under the curve here, the amount of active over the 12-hour period is so dramatically different. And then finally, Tributyrin, which is a postbiotic, which is kind of completing the microbiome story. We've heard about prebiotics. We know a lot about probiotics. Well, postbiotics are completing this story, and it has a whole host of interesting effects because what we know about the microbiome and what it can do in a variety of these disease conditions. In this particular case, supporting the microbiome in weight management is crucial for Tributyrin. And we've shown, again, 30 times higher concentration up against standard Tributyrin product in the marketplace versus our biobutyrin. So we put our ingredients through a number of different studies. I'm just showing you the PK. There's other permeation studies that are just as dramatically successful as this. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of weight loss. Obesity, the scope of the problem, when you look at the 2022 published World Obesity Federation numbers, 1 billion people globally, 1 in 5 women, 1 in 7 men will be living with obesity by 2030. And it's the accumulation of this abnormal or excessive fat that interferes with optimal health in a variety of ways. One of the things that we are focusing on is to look at the different types of fat in the body. We have white fat, which is nothing more than the excessive accumulation of fat from excess calories. And it is the deadly fat, the bad fat, the type of fat that increases inflammation, oxidative stress, insulin resistance, as opposed to brown fat, which is thermogenic fat. This is the good fat. This is the step in weight loss to convert white fat to brown fat, or browning of fat. It increases the energy expenditure, it breaks down and gets converted to heat. So this step of conversion of white fat to brown fat is one of several mechanisms by which ReShape will address at the cellular level. And this is important because what have we had in the trade over the past several decades? Appetite suppressants and stimulants. Nonsense. At the cellular level, these are important ingredients that are working on both the conversion of white to brown fat and other aspects, as you'll see in a bit. So when we look at overnutrition, again, we need to look at the different types of adipose tissue, fat tissue. There's lean adipose tissue, brown fat, which is anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. It increases insulin sensitivity, angiogenesis, and then the white fat as you gain weight, which is inflammatory, increases oxidative stress, insulin resistance, and so forth and so on. These are the things that are responsible for the premature aging and death from degenerative diseases in obese people. And here you have an important understanding of fat cells, that they're not just dormant depots of excess calories. They are very much communicative to the rest of the body, and these fat cells give off messengers that can be deleterious to the body. One of them is about inflammation. We know that chronic inflammation interrupts signals that let you know when you're hungry and when you're full. So anything that's inflammatory, of which, again, fat cells, white fat cells, will be increased inflammation. There's no doubt that this can interfere with your sensory to feeling hungry or satisfied. Inflammation also interferes with metabolism by slowing it down, making it harder for you to burn those excess calories. At the cellular level, these adipocytes, as I mentioned, these fat cells, are very much communicators to the rest of the body. They give off these chemical messages called adipokines and cytokines, which are part of the immune system as well, and chemokines. These messengers are deleterious. They give rise to insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, and this cyclical issue about obesity. There's also hormones involved, like orexin, which is involved in the body's production of brown fat as well, which are influenced by some of the products in your ReShape formula. So let's go through the three ingredients: thymoquinone and weight management, the obesity connection. When we look at the data, there's been a number of articles published on looking at the active ingredient in black cumin seed oil, which is thymoquinone. Here in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology in 2018, they did a meta-analysis looking at controlled trials showing supplementation with thymoquinone-rich black cumin seed oil exerted moderate effects on as a complementary therapy to reduce body weight, body mass, and waist circumference. In the study below, they looked at changes in body composition and these circulating adipokines, messages from body fat. Thymoquinone-rich black cumin seed oil decreased fasting blood sugar, insulin levels, insulin resistance, that help to modulate hormone secretion and body composition in obese women. In 2021, in complementary medicines, the effect of, again, thymoquinone-rich black cumin seed oil on anthropometric and body composition indices in overweight and obese women. This was a crossover double-blind placebo-controlled trial. What they found here was significant effects on reducing body weight, body mass, and index as well. And there was a significant effect, why is this jumping, on body fat percent, which is really the heart and soul of it. It's not about your body weight, it's about your body composition, and then looking at those compartments. In the Journal of Antioxidants, Dr. Nadar, he had a great article here on using a standardized 3% thymoquinone along with some omega-3s, but looking at the fact that when thymoquinone is with other anti-inflammatory ingredients, and you can include curcumin here and other anti-inflammatories, it helped to reprogram unhealthy white to healthy brown fat. It enhanced the browning of white fat, and it plays a major role in decreasing obesity-associated insulin resistance. When they interviewed Dr. Nadar, he had some very interesting things to say. The first one was said that this combination was more effective and likely safer than other weight management interventions. When developing supplements, thymoquinone should be a top choice. The browning of white tissue, adipose tissue, decreasing obesity-associated insulin resistance. All of this was addressed by his data that he presented, and when he was interviewed, was quite remarkable. In the Journal of Complementary Therapeutic Medicine in 2015, we're going back now, there was clinical efficacy on using turmeric now with thymoquinone-rich black cumin seed oil. Here, the combination showed improvements in all parameters from baseline compared to placebo. Now, thymoquinone in and of itself is anti-inflammatory. Berberine in and of itself is anti-inflammatory. Tributyrin in and of itself is anti-inflammatory. So when you add anti-inflammatories to thymoquinone and or berberine, you get even that much better effect in terms of weight management. So why do we need thymoquinone LS? And because thymoquinone is hydrophobic with low bioavailability. Its use is limited owing to poor aqueous solubility bioavailability, and then oral bioavailability enhancement effects through self-emulsifying delivery systems has all been reported in the literature, and why the Biosets technology is a superior form of thymoquinone and all the other ingredients that we are using. When it comes to berberine, berberine was shown in a study in 2021 in the International Journal of Biological Science, how it modulates the remodeling of fat, and it helps to stimulate adipose tissue remodeling and thermogenesis, the conversion of white fat to brown fat. And it was helpful to significantly reduce body weight and insulin resistance in obese mice. And it affected other areas, not just the conversion, but also enzymes like AMPK and SIRT1 and PPAR, all that are involved in either glucose uptake and insulin sensitivity and adipose tissue remodeling. So they got down to the nitty-gritty at the cellular level of all the things that berberine is doing to help with this conversion of white fat to brown fat, as well as what we saw with thymoquinone. We know that the studies all were showing how berberine lowers blood sugar and insulin levels, which is part of the metabolic syndrome, which is tied into obesity, how berberine increases the number of mitochondria in muscle, that increases metabolism so you can burn fat more efficiently, and again, enhancing brown fat in the body, which helps increase body temperature, burn more fat, and baseline metabolism. When you looked at the human trials, they date back into the 20s. Berberine here in the complementary therapeutic medicine, systematic review, meta-analysis, and even in patients here with schizophrenia by regulating certain hormones in the body. In the Journal of Biomedical Pharmacotherapies, the effect of berberine on weight loss in order to prevent obesity. This was a systematic review. They critically reviewed a number of experimental studies in humans and in animals and evaluated berberine for its effect on obesity. What they found in all this critical review was effective. It was effective against differentiation of adipocytes, how they developed, how they were transformed from white to brown fat as well. And there was a beneficial impact on the gene regulation for the amelioration of glucose accumulation, which is involved with fat development as well as cholesterol. In Nature Communications 2014, how berberine activates thermogenesis in white and brown fat. So it promotes brown fat formation and function. It increases energy expenditure, and it increases UCP1, which is helps the mitochondrial membranes that are devoted to thermogenesis, burning up calories in the body. And then in 2023, which was just released this month, berberine ameliorates obesity by inducing GDF15 secretion by brown fat. And berberine, GDF is nothing more than growth differentiation factor to help the conversion of white fat to brown fat. But in brown fat, GDF15 is a stress response cytokine that can reduce food intake and lower body weight by induced in diet-induced obese mice. So the data continues to evolve both with thymoquinone and berberine to, again, assist in conversion of white fat to brown fat, which is a necessary step for weight loss, as well as affecting certain enzymes and hormones that are involved in proper weight management as well. And then finally, we look at tributyrin. And tributyrin being a postbiotic, and as we know that postbiotics can take on a number of faces, but when we ingest probiotics and prebiotics, or when we ingest probiotics and they work on fibers in the diet, which are prebiotics, one of the most important things that they develop by ingesting these prebiotics are short-chain fatty acids. And when you look at probiotics and prebiotics in the gut, they're all very important. But what's completing this whole story is to look at the byproducts of the interplay between pre and probiotics. And that is to say, when we look at tributyrin, it's the source of the most bioavailable source and slow-release form of butyrate. Butyrate happens to be one of the postbiotic metabolites. So when a prebiotic is ingested by a probiotic, it gives off these short-chain fatty acids. Butyric acid, butyrate, is the most infamous of the short-chain fatty acids. So again, prebiotic gets ingested, probiotic ferments them, production of short-chain fatty acids, butyrate being the most important. That's the function of tributyrate, to give off more butyrate as a supplement. Why is this important? 95% of butyrate is used as the preferred source of fuel for your colon, your lower intestinal tract, and gut barrier protection. It promotes immune support. It supports the growth of good bacteria as well. So these short-chain fatty acids, of which butyrate is the most important, of which tributyrin is a source of, is critically important for gut health. But outside of the gut, butyric acid, butyrate, tributyrin has other health benefits, of which weight management, metabolic wellness, combating inflammation, all connected, as we've seen with the other two ingredients for good weight management. When it comes to the microbiome and weight management, we know that the gut bacteria can promote weight gain, the bad bacteria, by extracting more energy from food, increasing inflammation, disrupting hormones, and weight can be influenced by the microbiome. We know that diet, exercise, other lifestyle factors all affect the composition of the gut, and that can promote the health and growth of beneficial bacteria. We know that this microbiome story, when we look at the nutrient absorption, we know gut bacteria help break down food to absorb nutrients. They can reduce inflammation, and they can influence certain hormones that are involved in satiety, appetite, and so forth. So we know that if we keep the microbiome healthy, it is an integral part of weight management. When we look at butyrate and obesity, the current research was just published here in the Frontiers of Endocrinology in February of 2024. And here's what came out of all of this research that was done, that butyrate stimulates thermogenesis of brown fat. Okay, so now we got another partner along with berberine and thymoquinone for this conversion. Butyrate can also increase the expression of your mitochondrial aspect of thermogenesis, meaning that your mitochondria produces energy, And that's part of thermogenesis. And the more thermogenesis, the more we can burn the calories more efficiently. Butyrate can change the composition of the gut microbiome, and it improves disturbed intestinal flora in animals. Butyrate also decreases fatty acid production, so lipid synthesis, especially triglycerides. And butyrate was also shown to suppress food intake. So for all these reasons, berberine, thymoquinone, and butyrate make for a powerful triad of important ingredients like no other weight management program that exists on the marketplace today. This goes above and beyond stimulants and appetite suppressants. This gets to the heart and soul at the cellular level of this conversion of white fat to brown fat, the influence of enzymes that are involved in thermogenesis to break down calories more efficiently, and hormones that are affecting appetite as well. So for all these reasons, I am happy to see that Dr. Jacques put this formula together, which again is evolutionary and revolutionary as much as our technology to deliver these nutrients protected, more stable, more soluble, more permeable, more available than any other technology that we have today.